You guys can hear me? Okay. It's an absolute honor to have Honorable Secretary Rajesh sir with us here. I've met a lot of bureaucrats. I must confess, he's one of the finest. Um, he's a graduate of IIT, of course an IAS officer. And I was very fortunate to meet him a few times. And I think the work that he has done for people with disabilities is just incredible. So I just request all of you to give one more round of applause for Mr. Rajesh Agarwal. My first question is to understand a little bit of your personal journey. You are a technologist. How come you came into the Department of Social Justice, and what has been your journey like? And you've been there for a little over 2 years now, and we are all aware that bureaucrats have short terms. How does the department look for you? How has this 2 years been specifically for you?
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As you know, in IAS, we get from one department to another, and this was one of those postings 2 years back. And when I joined, someone told me, I seriously don't remember who, that if you want a jump start in this sector, get a book called Invisible Majority. So that was the first book I read. And now whenever any new officer joins me, I give him or her that book. And yesterday, while coming from flight to Delhi, I was reading another book called Disabilities Visibility by Alice Wong, and that is also some stunning chapters. So for me, it was a new sector. For many of you in this room, it has been lived reality, or you have been in this sector for decades. So in 2 years, I have been able to pick up a lot of things, a lot of ideas, and by talking to people like you, by interacting with people like you, and across the country, not only in Bengaluru. But whenever I come to Bengaluru, I actually just wrote a WhatsApp message to my officers group that I am attending India Inclusion Summit today, and Wednesday I'm attending Bengaluru Tech Summit. And I said that Bengaluru is really the hub of technology, AI, and transformative changes happening in the disability sector. So whenever I come here, I always meet 5 to 10 people who are really doing transformative work. And it's an honor to be chatting with Feroz, whose book actually introduced me into this sector.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And of course, C.K. Meena ji, I met her just now.
Yeah. One of the things about the Act of 2016 was it is by far one of the most progressive disability acts in the world, and I have very closely followed the American Disabilities Act when we were researching for the book. It is incredibly progressive, but the implementation of it is a lot to be desired. So what are the steps that you are taking, your officers are taking, to actually implement the letter and spirit of the 2016 Act?
Yeah, our 16 Act was actually designed on UNCRPD principles. And as Feroz says, it's a good act. In some senses, even better than ADA Act. But the judicial system, the case law, building those case laws sometimes takes 10 to 20 years also. For some sections, it has been good progress. In some other clauses, the progress has been slow. Recently, along with Vidhi, again, Bangalore-based group, we brought out booklets of 100 impactful judgments of High Courts and Supreme Court, and more than 100 judgments of CCPD and SCPD. And now we have actually formed a group to study the compliance of various sections and various judgments. So the case law in the country is now building. In fact, in last 2-3 weeks also, there have been 3-4 very impactful judgments of the Supreme Court. So I do believe that over next 3-4 years, the sector will see a lot of progressive changes as far as the act, the rules, the judgments based on those acts, and actual implementation starts. But on the accessibility part, I must agree that there's still lots of work to be done, both in the government sector and the private sector.
Yeah. One of the things which we noticed during our research was the data. The last census was done in 2011. The numbers we were talking about was 2.2% in India. The world average, as per the World Health Organization, is 15%. And if you don't have data, you really don't know how deep the problem is. So what is being done to collect data? And more importantly, when is the next census going to be, and what are we going to do with respect to addition of a questionnaire to capture the data of people with disabilities?
Okay. Yeah, this is an important aspect because our census data 2.2% versus global figures of 10 to 15%. In our country, we have a very sort of narrow definition totally based on medical parameters. In fact, we recently 12th March 2024, the new SOP for assessments that reduces doctor's discretion, but again, it is a really very medical kind of parameterization. So the numbers there obviously are low. But we all know that now the demographic pattern is also changing, people are getting older. So we'll have, in a sense, more and more kind of disabilities. Second, because many schemes are actually oriented towards persons with benchmark disabilities of 40%. So the data primarily is of 40% plus. And the third factor is that very unfortunately, and things are changing now only recently, that there is a stigma attached to disabilities. So even during census, when enumerator comes and asks you, is there someone with disabilities in your family? There is massive underreporting. And also probably there is a feeling कि बुढ़ापे में तो चीज़ें आएंगी, सुनना कम होगा, दिखना कम होगा. So we don't really classify that as a disability in the classic sense. कि enumeration के टाइम पे घर पे दो बूढ़े लोग हैं तो वैसे नहीं ठीक है सब. Though they might have slight less eyesight or problems with hearing. So that way the data is sort of underreported. But now we have we have UDID data. We have UDID cards. So majority of you would be knowing. So we have at the moment 1.2 crore cards issued till now. So all that CSV file or Excel sheets, anonymized, aggregated, they are now on our website, DEPwD.gov.in. If you go to that website, you can actually download the anonymized data, district-wise, 21 disability-wise, gender-wise, and age grouping, 0 to 6, 6 to 15, to anonymize the names. We have done the age grouping. So you have the heat map of the entire country. And I half seriously say that depending on your shraddha, आप इसको 2 से multiply कर लो, 3 से कर लो, 4 से कर लो, depending on what you think. But that gives a very good heat map of the country. So we can actually focus our energies कि यहाँ पे थोड़ा deafness की problem आ रही है, यहाँ पे ID के cases ज़्यादा हैं कि what is it due to. So it's a very great material for research. And also, probably next 2 weeks, you will have data on assistive technology provided by government. So the Arjun portal data, again anonymized district-wise, disability-wise, gadget-wise, we'll release it in public. And I hope that will be good gauge of the market and the kind of disability we have. Obviously, you can use your own multiplier factor.
Yeah. So, disability is a complex, multidimensional problem. And we feel there are various aspects that you need to work on. But from your perspective, what are your top priorities in terms of working on the disability field? It could be accessibility, it could be healthcare, it could be insurance. From your perspective, what is really in that order, what would be the top 3 challenges that you would think that we should focus on?
Yeah, there are obviously lots of things to do, from prenatal stuff to postnatal, early diagnostics, early intervention, education, better assisted living, better assimilation in society, those societal attitudes, and then nudging towards employment, better employment, self-employment, jobs in government sector, private sector, and so on. But if it was one factor, and that may be my personal disposition, I would say inclusive education, inclusive education, inclusive education. That's very, very important. And again, traditionally, before independence also, we have a lot of special schools in the country, and especially we used to call them blind schools and deaf schools and schools for children with ID, basically three major classifications. So a lot of our schemes, whether it be National Trust or DDRS or a lot of other state government schemes, they also strongly support the special school system. But I think time has come where we also realize that maybe 90% of the children studying in special schools, they have potential to go to inclusive schools which can be transformative for them. So we all need to work on that. That's the first point I think we should work on. And then second is now, we are working with a lot of corporates, and here also in the morning I was talking to some people. So a lot of now inclusive kind of employment opportunities are coming. Government has done 4% job reservation, but that is only in the government jobs. And the jobs in private sector will be maybe 50x or 100x of government jobs. So actually cracking that code and getting all corporate sector and big ones, small ones to really take a leap of faith, employ persons with disability, do some reasonable accommodations, and then see the benefit and then take more and more people. I think that's a way to go, and many corporates which are experimenting with 1, 2, 10 persons, then they are realizing that attrition rates with PWDs are low, usually the loyalty factor is high, and productivity is also, with reasonable accommodations, it can be quite high. So I haven't till now talked to a corporate which has said कि गलती हो गई, 2-4 लोगों को ले लिया, अब और को नहीं लूँगा. So everyone says that, yes, it has been a good leap of faith and we'll increase the numbers. So that's a good thing happening.
सर एक चीज़ मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ आपसे कि मुझे भी लोग हर बार पूछते हैं कि ये इंक्लूजन मूवमेंट जो हमने स्टार्ट किया 12 साल हो गए, हैव यू सीन एनी प्रोग्रेस? हर लोग यही पूछते हैं कि आपकी इम्पैक्ट क्या है, कुछ बदलाव आया है क्या? मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आपके जो टर्म रहा है 2 साल में, आपको कुछ बदलाव नज़र आ रहे हैं? आई नो इट्स अ प्रिटी लोडेड क्वेश्चन, बट आई वांटेड टू गेट योर पर्सपेक्टिव.
See, that answer has to come from people who have been in this for decades. I am here in this sector for 2 years. But in 2 years, I have tried to reach out to the community in a truly inclusive fashion. And I feel at least the central government and more than half the state governments are trying to do their best for this sector. And societal attitudes are dramatically changing. When I talk to people of my generation and when I see my children's generation, the attitude towards inclusiveness are changing. And that's a very positive sign. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, very good. You are a technologist. How have you used technology to drive inclusion? And what are your priorities when it comes to technology? And Bangalore being the technology hub, you know, there are so many entrepreneurs in this room itself. What's the role of technology to drive inclusion?
See, technology can be game changer for everyone, including persons with disabilities. For example, now mobile device. For us, it is one of the tools. For a blind person, it's a life changer. For example, now I am pushing really that blind and low vision children who are getting scribes for 10th class exams, that how do we nudge them to become truly independent, give the exam on laptop or connected keyboard connected to a mobile and so on. Because ultimately when they grow up, they have to work independently. So technology enables you to live independently. For example, even Alexa, for people with lesser mobility, Alexa is godsend. From your bed, you can say, Alexa, put the light out, put the lights on, or do this thing. Prosthetics. Now, quality is improving and costs are coming down. Orthotics, again, the same issue. So, I'm passionately gone into engineering parts. Because I'm basically an engineer and I feel here the technology is basically beautiful intersection of engineering and medicine and biomedicine. So hearing aids, the quality is becoming much better, the size is becoming smaller. For even in cognitive impairments, lot of new things are coming, lot of software is coming. So it's making education much easier, it's making living much easier, it's making your employment working much easier. So technology, whether it is software, hardware, prosthetics, mechanical, computer-based, artificial intelligence-based. For example, I was talking to Amazon team also 3-4 months ago. Last week I had a good chat with the OpenAI team. That sometimes people with CP or Down syndrome, their speech is a bit slurry. So non-standard speech. So a lot of people are working on this. So we'll be doing a project with OpenAI also on non-standard speech. So, and I'm talking to Step people, I'm talking to ONDC people. So we are actually trying to create a purple stack of technology, just like you have a UPI stack, payment stack, India stack in this. We are talking about purple stack, and here I am talking to the Bengaluru team of Step and Nandan's team very closely.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sir, I'll also allow maybe a couple of audience questions if that is okay. Anybody has questions for Rajesh sir? I think there are one questions there. So before I ask maybe two questions from the audience, we're just making sure that we don't run out of time. Sir, one of the things that I've often heard is technology is an enabler, but the hardest problem to solve is people's mindsets. लोगों की सोच बदलनी है, वो सबसे टफ काम है. हम लोग यही सोचते हैं कि हमारी पूरी काम जो है, हम इंक्लूजन सबमिट जो करते हैं, फाउंडेशन का काम है, वो एक्चुअली सोच बदलने का काम कर रहे हैं. और ये 1 साल 2 साल 10 साल 20 साल वाली काम नहीं है, ये एक वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस वाली काम है, ये चलते रहेगी. सो मैं चाहता हूँ आपसे, आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम यू, how do you change people's mindset? I know it's again a complicated question, but what is it that we can do to change mindset about disability and make it truly accepting of people for who they are?
That's actually the hardest part, changing the mindset of the people. And there are a lot of NGOs working in Bengaluru also who work with the resident welfare associations, so that when, let us say, any child with disability comes to the playground in the apartment, the other parents and other children don't bully that child, or don't make that parent or child uncomfortable. So that's the hardest part. And I think the only solution is for the community to become more visible, for the parents to actually be more strong and bring their children out to every aspect of life, and also for the community to bring forward the role models. Frankly, when we see a person who is an achiever despite disability, our mindset changes very fast. So I think more and more of role models coming up, and more and more parents actually bringing the children out and feeling no shame in it or no stigma in it. So more visibility is the most important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I am Purnima. I am an educator. So, as you said, inclusion needs to be brought into schools. Is it possible in some way your department can actually, now with the NEP policy coming out, can we actually include it as a curriculum, as a subject? Because targeting primary to middle school kids and making them empathize, I think would be the best. Because once they step into teens, there's a lot of discrimination with each other. So it is very tough. Is it possible to include at a very younger age? Because they're by nature or they're born empathetic. We, the nature and the society, we create them to have differences in their mind. So is there anything that can be done from your department side and put pressure on the NEP policy as well? That's what I know. Thank you.
I frankly had a friend who had polio. So that was the limited exposure to persons with polio during our generation actually. But now things are changing. For example, Supreme Court, many of you would be knowing that few months ago, Supreme Court said that every school, including private school, they have to have a special educator. Now, if any school denies permission to a determined parent for their child, they do go to court and schools ultimately have to bend and take in the children, whether they want it or not. So things are changing that way that every school will have children with special needs. So other children will get exposed to these children, otherwise which frankly our generation was not exposed to. Then we have to take care, like you are saying, that they are sensitized, teachers are sensitized, and it should not be a bullying kind of situation, and then obviously no empathy will develop. So you have a very valid question that how do we target teachers so that they can bring this sensitivity in all the children also to how to really behave with another child in their class who has special needs.
My important question here is, as you said, education is the biggest game changer for person with disability. And the second game changer, I would say, is the financial income. So can you talk to Sitaraman ma'am and get all the people with disabilities income to be tax exempt from 2025? Because from 2016, it's 1.5 lakh, and even coming from Uber to my home takes 4,000. So financial inclusion we definitely need, and after education, if we can't get the income saved for our medicals and our education, it will be very difficult for us to sustain long. So I would definitely seek your help in getting this at least nudged to the central ministry.
Okay, see in assistive technology, what I have understood and read from probably his book only, is that 3 A's are important: awareness, accessibility, and affordability. Affordability, taxation part, reducing custom duties or having more made in India, more affordable but good quality products. That is important. But frankly, more than that, I have met people, for example, who had railway accident or a car accident, let us say 7 years ago, and a youth of 25 years, 30 years, they are coming to our place for prosthetics for the first time. And I chat with them, पहले क्यों नहीं आए? कहते पहले पता ही नहीं था. 6 साल बाद पता चला कि आर्टिफिशियल लेग भी मिलती है या होती है कोई ऐसी चीज़. So awareness is very limited in many of our villages and even many cities. So more than affordability, it is lack of awareness. And then accessibility. Can you get that thing within 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers of your place? So that's why we have started expanding PM Divyasha Kendars. From 0, we have come to 70 in last 6 months. We plan to go to 150 by March and 300 in next 2 years. So that within 100 kilometers, you stand anywhere in India, within 100 kilometers, you will find a place where you can find cheap or free of cost gadgets. So taxation is one part. We are also promoting Made in India in a big way. For example, artificial knee joint, we are now on 3rd December, we are releasing commercially, done with the IIT Madras. An artificial knee joint which is half the cost of an equivalent European model, which we get actually at a cheaper cost, and which is 1/10 of the cost of otherwise the European models. So now we are interacting with more and more companies. I keep on going to wheelchair companies, to other companies, so that how to bring down the costs while maintaining very good quality. So taxation is one part, and there is a lot of lobbying on that, and that should continue. So we need to have more sensible rates for many kind of things in this sector. And but awareness and availability near your home, I think that's more inhibiting factor than the costing in many cases.
Beautiful.
Rajesh sir, Sai here. Yeah,
Okay,
I just want
last
to...
question to Sai.
Okay, last
We can't
question
say
to
no
Sai.
him.
Huh?
Yeah, just one last question from my side. We have seen the progress in communication, railways and the roadways, lot of buses, and all the railway stations are being making accessible. But I would like to ask you that where we are standing in the terms of air accessibility, because lot of people are not able to fly properly with their wheelchair, especially for the people who are wheelchair confined. Firoz can explain it to you better.
Yeah.
So that is the one thing I would like to, where the government is looking after how to make it more little smooth for us.
Sai, who's here, Sai Costa, he won the national award last year. So first give him a round of applause, please. But Sai को 3rd December दिल्ली पहुंचने के लिए, how many days did you take on the road?
5 days.
It took 5 days for him to reach Delhi from Bangalore on the road in his condition because there is no flight that he can go on. For somebody who's his condition, it is incredibly, sometimes dangerous to go on road for 5 days, but it was a national award, so he went. And for the last 2 years, I've spoken to many of the CEOs of the flight companies. In fact, we've been working together. How do I make flights accessible? Because you are on a wheelchair, वो wheelchair fit नहीं होती है, उनको seat निकालना पड़ता है. And especially in cases like, Sai, which is much more complicated. So ये एक issue है. I want to do, and that's what Sai is trying to talk about. How do we make flights accessible beyond having a ramp and a wheelchair, which is fine, but there's much more to be done there.
Okay, see, as far as the airports are concerned, because the infrastructure has to be internationally certified, so they are in a sense more accessible than our railways and bus stands. Then flights also, they follow the international standards. So usually we get complaints from persons with low vision or blindness about the, first is ticketing part, the website part not being accessible, not being able to get that thing. So a lot of work is happening there. Then your whole experience of going through security. So there, the protocols are in place, but 1 out of 100 CIS constables or the private agencies, they may not be fully trained or sensitized. So we do get those kind of complaints that I was not treated well or asked to take off my prosthetics or whatever. So the security experience for 1 or 2% persons can be traumatic. Then getting a wheelchair from your entry to the aircraft. The delays can sometimes happen in boarding as well as in alighting. Sometimes in alighting you get stuck outside the aircraft for 1 hour. Again, 1%, 2% such cases. So these are not due to lack of standards, but some person, some ground crew staff or some security staff or some air hostess, air crew inside the aircraft not being fully sensitized or not being fully trained. But in general, airlines and aircrafts and the physical infra, that is better than the other because they have to follow the international standards. And that's a good part that more and more people are actually coming out and traveling.
Yeah.
So these complaints are going to increase because more people will travel. The expectations will be more and people will get trained also. So we'll see 1 or 2% persons with disabilities really complaining on certain issues, and rightly so. And things will continue improving there. And we are, for example, very closely working with the Indigo on this. We are working with the Air India Vistara also on these issues. But Indigo is someone which has taken actually more steps with us to really move forward.
With that, can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Rajesh Agarwal, please? We all hope for the community that Rajesh sir continues to serve this beautiful department. Thank you so much.